Good afternoon everyone, good evening. Just checking in from Nashville. Been a relatively busy day for Villa. On the news front, Boubacar Kamara signing a new contract. It's a huge piece of business for Villa. One of their best players, certainly a player who would be incredibly hard to replace in that Villa team. And while there was no concrete option for Kamara to leave the club this summer in terms of Villa accepting any offers, they wanted him on that new contract to not only protect his value, but he's also part of the project moving forward, obviously, and certainly next season. I think Villa have such an exciting opportunity to get back in the Champions League via that Europa League chance, but also to finish in the Champions League positions in the Premier League. That's always going to be Villa's goal, ambitious goal every season. Playing in Europe is their primary target, of course, every campaign. But if you're going to be keeping your key players, Kamara, Rodgers, Watkins, those guys, for me, that is, or at least this summer, and for the club as well, was their main priority. And as we speak right now, July the 24th, that is the case. There will have to be some manoeuvring for Villa to open the purse strings and add to their team. That has to happen, by the way, before the end of the summer window. And again, Villa planning for that because they've lost 3 loanees, Rashford, Disasi and Asensio. It's really important that they can have a squad next season that is still deep in numbers. Behind me, by the way, I don't know if you can see some of the skyscrapers in Nashville, but really nice backdrop. Possibly not in this vlog, don't know if you can see it or not. It's too bright, it's too warm, but especially bright that I can't see my camera, so hopefully I don't go out of shot. I really enjoyed my first day in Nashville. Haven't been all over yet, of course. I'm actually in Louisville from tomorrow. Villa's game on Saturday night, so really looking forward to going there. Then back here in Nashville for Villa are based here, but then also next weekend when Villa finish their tour against Nashville, the MLS team, that will be based here obviously as well, which will be something to look forward to the American fans that are based out here. No one's stopping me. No one's stopping for me to cross the road, unfortunately. Back to Kamara. Yeah, I feel like this is probably one of the best pieces of business that Villa could have pulled off, to be honest, this summer. And obviously it's not an incoming, but it's certainly a player who, as I said earlier, I really don't think Villa could replace, not to the level anyway. In fact, not many teams can replace a player of his quality in that specific position, that number 6 role. Few players can play that position that he plays uniquely at the, I'd say, elite level, because we saw in the Champions League Villa reaching, of course, the last 8. And Kamara obviously being an influential part of that. I think he could play for most teams if they want that player. Then yeah, Kamara is definitely up there in players in European football who can perform that function. So a huge boost for Villa heading into the new season to have Kamara down to 2030. It's a long contract, and a player who at the age of 25, I believe, there's probably levels that he can go still, and certainly under Unai Emery that can happen. For me though, I just think consistency is the thing for Kamara. He's absolutely capable of playing 8 out of 10 every week, and that's the big, I'll say, bonus of having him in the team. Again, a player who does so many different things to such a level. And I think when he first joined, not for Villa fans but for other fans, and I don't know if people who watch the Premier League and European football later on, but when obviously he joined Villa, Villa weren't in the European football picture, but it was quite easy to overlook what he gave to the team. And I think most people can see now just what an important part of the side he is, and again the role that he does is so important. So yeah, fantastic news for Villa to have him on a long-term deal. And again, just for next season though specifically, we can't kid ourselves. If Villa don't get in the Champions League next season, they're going to have to make money for the financial years after this one as well, especially without that kind of source of income. You want to be in the Champions League every other season if you can't be in every season. And again, kind of beyond the fact that winning the Europa League banks you a trophy, and that would end Villa's long wait for one. Being the Champions League for the club, I think it definitely is so important as well to continue to compete with these clubs, because we've seen, Chelsea's, Liverpool, City, and I mean even Tottenham and Man United. To be fair, I know Tottenham are in the Champions League, but their revenues, it's night and day. Even though Villa are building in that respect, but it's really important, as we've seen, of how getting the Champions League can boost your finances, but also allow you to compete and bring players in a market that is dominated by those players who, those teams who can open the purse strings and spend. Villa can't do that unless they were to sell, and I think their strategy of not selling those key elements of the team, I think that's something that will pay off for them. But again, I'm talking kind of short term, really, of just this summer. For now, they need to get back in that Champions League, and again, like we saw summers previously, and in the winter window, you can pay wages for players and really bolster your squad with 2 strong players per position. Villa at the moment don't have that. Hopefully by the end of the summer window they will. That's Kamara. What I would say is that Villa do have a number of players who are now into their final 2 years. You're looking at Yuri Tielemans, John McGinn, Matty Cash, and a few others as well. Luca Dean in the final year of his deal. I think it's important that Villa continue to have those players on contracts where it doesn't feel like they're coming to that kind of conundrum where it's either you sell or give them a new deal. It's not really a nice position to be in, so I'm sure the club will be working to get some more players on longer deals. It's certainly something that they did well in the last, they have done well in the last 18 months. If you look at players like Morgan Rogers, who weren't into the final months or years, but really important that they're on long-term contracts to protect values and eliminate talk of them leaving and all those different things. So good news on the contract front. Where else can we go? Quickly talk about the tour. Being out here, I don't know if you can tell, but goodness me, it's hot, it's humid, it's really not nice to walk in for any more than 10 minutes, to be perfectly honest. At least that's me talking. As a man coming from Birmingham, should we say, it's, goodness me, gonna have to get used to it and adapt to it quickly. There's gonna be more walk and talks and all these different elements. As I said previously in podcasts, we have that vlog out now of me travelling from Birmingham to Dublin to Boston to Nashville, and then more of those to come as I go from Nashville to Louisville St. Louis, and then Louis back to Nashville and then back home on Sunday of next week. So a long time in the States, which is great. As I mentioned before, looking forward to seeing lots of different people in meetups, and hopefully get to talk to Unai as well while I'm out here to ask some important questions of what's happening in the window, and looking forward to next season as well. Being I wouldn't say difficult summer window in the sense of Villa losing players, and as I spoke about earlier, for me, what would you rather happen? Villa sell key players and then bring in those new players on similar fees, I guess, than what you had sold. For example, if Villa had sold Watkins, Martinez and another player, or maybe even 2 more after that, and then replaced them for similar fees, I think that would have been a huge risk. So I think Villa have done well at this stage to kind of just keep what they've got. Again, they're going to have to bring in money. That could look like a sale of Ramsey, Martinez, whoever it may be, for them to bring in some players by volume. I mean, not just replace them singularly. I think it's a case of, well, can you keep the main core group? And they've done that for now, and we'll see what the window brings, because things can change in the transfer window very quickly. But for now, I think they are still in a good space, just need a few more bodies. But again, there's a long way to go before the end of the window, so right now looking strong. I think, if you're playing Newcastle tomorrow, that's still a strong 11 and a strong bench, but we know that in this season so many injuries can happen, suspensions, different things. So goodness me, this heat is a lot. And there's, that's a Cybertruck. I won't show it on the screen, but I think I've just seen my first Cybertruck. Interesting. By the way, the trucks in America are huge. Goodness. But yeah, Cybertruck there, interesting. I'm not going to flash it on the screen though because of number plates, etc. Anyway, that's not interesting. I'll finish with some players that I think have a bit of a point to prove, I guess, in this pre-season tour. Daniel Marlon jumps off the page, a player who will be wanting more minutes next season, and I think he'll be using this summer to really kind of knuckle down and get himself into Emery's plans, learn those tactical elements that Emery clearly wasn't too satisfied with in terms of him being in the team and carrying out those demands. Other players, I look at Andres Garcia and think that he'll trying to push Matty Cash's kind of right back starting spot. That's another player for me. Jacob Ramsey as well, a player who last summer was not for sale and wasn't going to leave. Had the chance to leave, for Villa to sell him. That would have fixed their PSR issues. Now this summer you get a feeling that if a big bid came in for him, Villa would have to think about it. Can he put himself in a position where, again, Emery thinks, no, not for sale? We'll see. Elsewhere, I think if you look at the midfield too, Amadou Onana, like Ian Maatsen, you can probably couple them together and say signed for big money last summer, and showed what they were capable of doing in spells last season. At least that was true for Onana. I think Maatsen at the back end of the campaign really was starting to look strong. That left back department that Villa have, if Villa can get Luca Dean on fresh terms, maybe lower his wages but keep him, maybe on a short term deal. He is obviously at the wrong end of 30, but players can play to 35, 36 nowadays at a really strong level, and that looks like the case for Luca Dean. So if you can keep that really strong left back department, that'd be fantastic. Those two players push themselves, and Arna pushing himself into that starting 11 where you've already got Tielemans and Ross Barkley fighting for that one position. But then if you bring in an Arna with Kamara and on an away game or even at home and push Tielemans further forward, then that's a strong option. So again, options, that's the key thing. As I mentioned earlier, Villa need a bit more depth. I'm sure they'll get there. They need wingers. Do they need another 9 to push Watkins, or will they be happy for Daniel Marlon to compete with Watkins at the top end of the pitch? Those are the kind of questions that I hope to be asking Emery out here in the States. So yeah, stay tuned for the coverage that we'll be bringing you. Again, obviously across Written on Birmingham Live, Claret and Blue, audio, visual vlogs, walk and talks after games, check-ins we've done on StreamYard, all those different things, and these little spontaneous, I guess, walk and talks around Nashville, Louisville, St. Louis,